today I'm going to be talking about why people should be able to text to 911. So let's just imagine ourselves at home on the weekend, bored, tired of all the procrastination that we've done, and we're just alone at home because our parents left us to go to Vegas. And we hear noises downstairs, and you go downstairs, you check who the person is or where the sound came from, and you figure out that it's an intruder, and he's dressed in all black, and he has a knife with him. So you go hide in the closet because you don't have anywhere else to hide, and you're like, oh, what should I do? If you can't really call 911 because he'll hear you, or he or she will hear you, and so you're like, oh, if only I was able to text 911, that would be a great idea. So every day in Los Angeles, there is approximately 9,000 calls, and from those 9,000 calls, 70% are made from cell phones, as recorded by a case study done by the EADS product manager David Warren in 2012. And because of many of you may have called 911 at one point in your life, wouldn't it be convenient to text 911 at least from your cell phone, since you always carry them around? As someone who's been in a situation where I was not able to call 911 because it was too risky, I believe that everyone in the United States should be able to text 911 instead of having to call. Eventually, everyone will have to call 911 at least a few times in their lives, maybe. And you won't be able to call 911 for one reason or another. So today I would like to share with everyone on this issue currently affecting more than all Americans. And by the end of the speech, I hope you will all have a better understanding and support the idea of being able to text 911 from all the cell phones in the United States. First, I will talk about the problems that have occurred by not allowing people to text 911. Second, I will talk about what caused the problem. And finally, I will give you a solution of how we could help people support the service more. So 911 calls are made on a daily basis everywhere in the US every day. And according to a scholarly journal written by 2 university students who are sisters from Australia, stated that in Australia they already have this service provided. And I believe that if in other countries this service is already provided, I believe that the US should already have it provided for us. So the problem here is that many people get into situations where they can't call 911 because they're either like in a kidnapping scenario, or they're at home and like someone comes in, like I said in the introduction, that someone might come into your house and try to hurt you if they hear you or something. And also, let's say like you see a situation where you can't necessarily talk because you get traumatized. Like before, like I seen somebody like get hit by a car and it was traumatizing, and I couldn't talk because I was scared and I was shaking. So but I would be able to text someone to tell them what happened, but I can't. So it would be convenient for some of us to be able to text 911 instead of calling. And also, some people may have hearing disabilities, as stated by the Investor's Business newspaper in 2014, where they said that many people have speech disabilities or they're deaf, so therefore they can't really hear the phone or like listen to anybody because they're deaf, and they usually have like a hearing aid if they have any hearing impairments, or they can't talk because they have speech disabilities. So now let's move on. I first discussed about the problem. Now I'm going to talk about the cause of why we don't have the service provided to us yet. Many companies are not willing to support the service because it's really expensive, as declared by the Federal Communications Commission. It approximately costs $3 billion for all companies to have this service provided to us. And a few of the companies that can't afford the service are small companies such as Metro PCS, Virgin Mobile, Boost Mobile, and Cryptid. And also, the satellites that they want to link so these services can be provided are very expensive to the government, and they're called PSAPs, which are public safety and answering points, where in your location, police can receive text messages from as stated from the FCC website. So now that you know about the perks of being able to call to Text 911 and what may have caused the service not to be available yet, I want to share with you all what we could do to support this idea. So here's a little picture that I found online, and it just says how 70% of calls made to 911 are from cell phones, and 52% would send a text if they can, but not in all areas it's available for us to text to 911. And it says on the third picture that we're supposed to have it in 2014, but since we didn't have enough funds to provide the service, in an article stated by the Federal Communications Commission stated that later in July we'll be able to provide the service. So the solution to the problem is that we should support all the companies that already volunteered to provide the service, such as AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint. Those are the four major companies that are going to provide the service later in July, hopefully. And also, for example, if they're in the area you don't have a PSAP location where basically like an area where you could text to 911, you'll receive a bounce back message that basically says that you can't text to 911 at that location. And something that I found on ABC News has stated that places in Texas, North Carolina, and New York have already adopted the service, and it's helping to push other states to enable the service. Also, more or less, texting costs much less than calling, so it would only be wise enough to let customers to text to 911. Lastly, we can help by stopping to be customers for these phone service companies that are not trying to provide the service for us. People have even written petitions. I've seen online that they made a petition about why we should be able to text 911, and I got the idea from there. So to wrap it up, I discussed how texting to 911 can help Americans, and what we can do for the service to be provided to each and every one of us. In order to build a strong and safer community and country, all Americans should have the opportunity to text to 911, because any circumstance that they may in, they will be able to text for help. First, I talked about the problem of why texting to 911 should be provided. Then I talked about the cause, and I finally spoke about how we could get more people to support this idea. And I just want to end with a quote that says it's better to lose 1 minute in life than to lose life in a minute. And basically, if you just text, if we would have this service available, it would only take 1 minute to send a text message out for help. And I just think that is better than losing a life. So everyone stay safe, and I hope you all could help support this idea. Thank you.